Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Teviot Valley Community Board meeting, Tuesday, 12 September 2024. I will apologise now for my voice. I seem to be suffering from some illness, which I can't get rid of. So I'll just record an apology for lateness for Mark. He's had another appointment producer. And Sally is joining my team.
Yep, she's on team. Move that those apologies be accepted. I'll second that. All those in favour say aye. Those against say nay. Yeah. So in the public forum this morning we've got Central Road Cargo Arts Festival on the list, Rebecca, Dion and Dan.
Morning, everybody. I'm going to put in an apology on behalf of Rebecca. She's got yours. Very unwell this morning. So thank you again for giving us the opportunity to speak to our application on behalf of Central Otago District Arts Trust and for your consideration of our proposal to bring a live literary event to Teviot Valley. It was always our intention as an organisation to move these events around Central Otago so that the benefits and the fun would be shared. You've got the what, the how and the when in our application, so maybe it's a little bit important to address the why. The background for this event lies in a series of small intimate literary salons which were launched in 2008 in the East End of London. These events were monthly. They grew and grew until they could fill the Savoy Ballroom several times over. And Damien Barr, the Scottish writer whose idea it was, is credited with revitalising live and live-streamed literary events. However, of most relevance to us here in Central Otago, on the other side of the world, is that these events started small in deliberately chosen surroundings which would, by their very nature, encourage the guests and participants to share stories. Stories are for everybody, and everybody has a story. Some stories are often overlooked or hidden, and sometimes it's difficult for writers to have their stories told. Stories are shared to better understand ourselves and others, to ask better questions and provide worthwhile answers. Cover to cover, we'll ask questions the audience really wants to hear, but the sessions are all about listening too. As you're aware, we first proposed a cover-to-cover series of authors' talks back in about 2018, 2019. Our project plan was based upon this tried and true formula. And after several false starts during the COVID era, we now have two very successful cover-to-cover events behind us. Both were sellouts with a waiting list, and the feedback was very positive. We anticipate that we will have the same outcome with this third event in the Teviot Valley, and your financial assistance would help us to achieve another sought-after and sold-out event. You have detailed information in our application about our two feature writers, Jacqueline Bublitz and Carl Newburn, And I know that this is going to be a great event. Are there any further questions about this, event at all?
Well, one's the reach into the community. But a certain sort of demographic.
You'd be probably interested to know how many book groups there would be in Central Otago. There's upwards of 20 plus. For our first one in Clyde, we had people from a large contingent of people from Wanaka, where there's a healthy, beautiful bookshop and healthy series of book clubs, and from Dunedin.
Mm.
So, but it was always the intention to keep it pretty local.
Mm.
With a reach out. I mean, book lovers are everywhere. I was going to say something else. Then.
I have a book club, and we will read the book that is subject to that cover that comes from Cromwell to the studio.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Mm.
Yes, we've got a significant database now from the last two series. And I believe that the literary world is quite lively in Teviot Valley. So
Yeah. I know Kyle had quite a mix of that for the book launch.
yes,
That was sweat.
yes, and she knows Jacqueline really well. I've read Jacqueline's first book; it's amazing, and she's got another one coming out in October. So it will serve for her to launch that and the card for her book as well. So.
Mm. So how many other authors and such have we got in the valley?
Okay, that's a good question. Carl, probably the best person to ask that.
We're creating some momentum that needs to be capitalised on.
Well, you'd probably be surprised. You'd probably be surprised how many people are closet writers, actually. There's a very strong writers group in Alex. I know that. Writers are a bit like artists, I think. They feel, whatever you do, it's on show. You're just putting your soul out there. You're putting everything in front of people for people to criticise and say, I don't like that or I do like that. And it's quite a scary thing, I think.
Oh, it's good. Not that I'm an author.
Well,
All right.
Carl's local, so he should be supported.
Yes, well, I've got a little quote here, which I think might answer your question, that we need writers and artists show us the worlds we may not be able to see.
Oh,
I like it. If there are no more questions.
You got any more?
No, I'm good with it.
I thought. Sally? All right, thank you. Next on the list is Peter McDougall from the museum. So Peter, are you talking to the museum's application this morning?
Yeah, I've got three things that I would like to talk to. As you know, I'm a trustee of the museum. I'm a Lions Club member, and I've been around for a while.
Have you won that?
Hey, a wee while, yes. On behalf of the Lions, for a start, we've been waiting on the replacement trees for the Lions Park, Nellis Flat. And they have finally arrived, thank you, and they have been planted. But no one came and spoke to us about where they're going to plant them. So the dead trees that they were to replace are still there. And that's a waste of funds. But I'm not sure how you get on. The trees that have died have been ring barked. Your contractors hit them with the mower, and we had a system organised that when they were replaced, we were going to protect them, but that's all gone by the wayside. The thing about, I'll now move on to the museum, and you're talking about districtisation. And districtisation is, in my view, common sense. And what I would ask for the council to do is, it's an opportunity where you can bring all your museums in Central Otago together. And, there's some brochures there from your brother's territory.
Well, they're bound to be a bullseye.
Yeah. Because I am a trustee of also the West Otago Vintage Club. And we're in the process of extending our museum at Tavernoe, raising 700,000. The mayor criticised me on here one day, so it's my opportunity to get back to him today, because we sucked some of his honorarium out of it for a raffle, and then he won it. He kept the wheelbarrow, but I think you gave the groceries to the Salvation.
Not all of them,
Not all of them.
not all of them, but a good
Right.
third.
But the five museums you've got in Central Otago, the five main museums, they're all doing their own thing. And it's a huge opportunity with districtisation to bring them together. And linked in with those, Cooper District museums, if anybody is going to do come and stay in Cromwell and then they want to do the museums and the circuit, they can organise it and do it. As you'll see in that, the West Otago Museum, we work in with the Teviot Museum because we have different things in Tavernoe. We're big machinery, traction engines, old tractors and things like that, whereas the museum here in Roxburgh, you're into previous and fossils from our generation, Mr. Chairman.
Shouldn't talk about yourself that way, too. Sorry.
And then my final comment is about rates. And I know that on the air the other morning, the mayor commented about the Prime Minister giving him a wind up of getting back to basics. Does anybody in your office proofread this before it goes out, signed by the chief executive and the mayor?
That's the rates information?
Yes, they do. So when you get it and it's a wet day and you read it and you look at the ward services charges, you're charging for the running of cemeteries and pools. The ward services rate, the ward services charge, you're charging for the cemeteries. The Molyneux Park charge, you're charging for pools and cemeteries. Recreation and culture, you're charging for pools and cemeteries. Tracks and waterways charges, once again, it's pools and cemeteries. So you've got 3 cemeteries in this valley and you're rating the people 5 times. Sorry about that. So I think when the Prime Minister read that, his comment about getting back to basics was pretty easily explained. Have you read it?
To be honest,
Chairman?
no.
No.
So the point is,
The point is, you're getting 5 licks of the cherry to run 3 cemeteries, 5 licks of the cherries to run 2 pools in the Teviot ward.
well, they're all ward-based rates, and we charge cemeteries the standard rate in this Teviot Valley. So if I looked at your rates bill, I would suggest there's probably just a rate for cemeteries in the valley, but you have 3 here, which is about 4, and we maintain all 3 of them.
Yeah, but you've charged 5 times.
We'll have a look at it, come back to it. It'll be an explanation.
Yeah. I'm surprised that some of the press haven't picked that up.
We have now.
Right. So I would like for the Lions Park Miller's Flat, I would like someone to come back and tell us what we're going to do about those trees.
And then,
Yeah, I'll come out there. Because they planted their replacement tree right in the avenue of flowering cherries where that outfit from Queenstown brings Japanese couples down and vans and have weddings this time of the year in amongst, yeah. Yeah, you've got a tree and the lawn mowing contractor, he's, not the average. Thank you.
Sorry, Peter, can I just ask a couple of questions just on the museum piece? So I'm leading the museum project on behalf of council. So Dylan Rushbrook, I lead the community vision team as part of the executive. Just a couple of questions on the museum piece that you brought us. So leading this conversation forward. Two questions. One is the Kofi Museum's model. How are they funded? So there's a lot of museums in here. Is it funding from council? Is it grant funding from other sources?
No, it's funded from council. If every year each museum puts in their budget, which covers rates, electricity, and insurance, and small maintenance jobs.
Okay.
Right, and then the council make a grant to the museums to the combined committee, and then it is paid out. It is paid out. So yeah, the system here, we pay the rates, and then we've got to apply for a grant to cover the rates.
Yes.
So then you have other museums in Central Otago that they don't pay rates. Council pay the rates. So I'm suggesting that you bring it into a situation where you do the same thing.
So you've got a committee that sits across.
Yes.
Distributes the funds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, each museum has 2 representatives on the combined museums committee.
Right, thank you. And my other question is, how are those museums staffed? Are they paid employees? Are they volunteers?
So all volunteers, and all run on a shoestring. Although that we do have access to a museum curator.
Yep.
Right? The Otago Museum have an employee that comes around the museums because we get presented with a first aid kit from the First World War, and it's got chemicals in the first aid kit that there's no way you can have them on display in a museum.
Gotcha.
When I first joined the Teviot Museum here, I went in and they said, we've got a lot of things here. They pulled out a drawer, for example, and they had 5 revolvers in it.
Right.
Nice.
Okay.
And I just said there was no way. So it's, in Central Otago, everybody's doing their own thing. And it's an opportunity now, under digitalisation, to bring it together and you build a very good thing right across the district for museums. And I would just like to promote that you do that.
Thank you.
While you've got the opportunity.
I see my brother in his large east and his council gave the West Otago Vintage Museum 200,000.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's more than rates insurance and.
Well, that comes out of their investment reserve fund. And we're extending our museum. We bought in Tabanoo, we bought a 1/4 acre section. We're putting a building on that worth 800,000. So we've raised a lot of money to qualify to get that 200,000. The 200,000, we don't get it in a lump sum. We've got to spend the money, and then we claim it back. Right.
Thank you.
From your, and we haven't asked for this valley, but from your endowment land at Ray's Junction, we might get a handout from that too.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry.
We said rates question, my answer to your question that you had around the rates and how we charge over time. But it's on there that this is part of council's portal parks and cemeteries activity. So my role at council is the GM of community experience. So I oversee all of that. And part of that is our pools, parks and cemeteries. It's a overall category, essentially how we operate. And so we take a portion of, there will be tracks that we will maintain with the cemeteries. Same with our parks, same with some parts around the district also have a pool within a reserve as well. So there are small portions that is taken around the district that goes into the overall activity. Does that sort of make sense?
but when you read that there,
It's
extremely confusing and you're taking 5 bites of the cherry.
yeah, I can see how you read that, but essentially the bubbles running up to the overall activity that we have.
And as a farmer, you just look at the basics. You go back and do the basics, do it well, one charge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Mayor, while you were handing around pamphlets, there's. I have everyone.
You're selling raffles at the
Oh, thank you.
Give yourself another raffle ticket at that one, Pete. Interesting.
Thank you, Peter. Doug, you can speak on behalf of the band's, grant application.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and council, or I'm going to say council, member of the board, the mayor, to be able to come and speak to our application for grant for funding for band. The Silver Band, it's been called many names over the years, and it started in, I've told you this before, of course, for new people here, 1882, and it's been going for 142 years. And I joined up with the band in 1958, so I've been playing for 66 years and got a lot of wins through Machuga. So the band is actually probably what you would call a community group of people, and it also serves also as a wider community. Over the years, we've managed to secure many New Zealand national titles amongst the competition in our grade. One year at Blenheim, we came home with 5 possible trophies out of our grade. It was fantastic. Our community group is, how can I explain it? It's based from people from Wanaka who come down virtually every Thursday. 3 people from Wanaka, 3 from Cromwell, and 1 from Opa. And they combine with our members from around our town here in the village. We're the only town of our size in New Zealand that is operating still a band, and therefore we command a community service. And the only other one that's near us in the South Island is Motueka and Westport. Our band members are old and varied. I can say I'm the second oldest there, but the people that do travel are really dedicated. The band also services community events. I think a lot of you people were here when the raising of the pole for the power board here. I played for the raising of the board in 1924, and it's surprising to see one of the older photographs in our book, a beautiful photograph of the band playing underneath the south window of the Presbyterian Church in 1894, in exactly the same position as we were virtually in this year. So it was quite an amazing band. What can I say? We have members in our band this year who played in 9 different services throughout Central Otago for Anzac Day. And for those that witnessed Anzac Day, got out of bed and were there, it wasn't the best of days to be blowing a brass instrument, but it was as windy as blazes, I can tell you. But we had 9 services covered from our band throughout Central Otago, Wanaka, Cromwell, Clyde, Alexandra, over Oakdale, etc. So all our band members are filling a community role as such. And it is a wee bit expensive. Everybody talks about electricity rates and insurance. Sure, they are expensive. And our insurance bill, of course, for instance, is quite heavy, and our rates, etc. So we do struggle at times, but we also try and give a community service. We were going to be giving another concert in Roxburgh, which we quite often do here, but unfortunately during the construction of the town hall, we're unable to accommodate the Invercargill Ascot Park A grade band with us this year, which is unfortunate. But we definitely have gone back. We have played out at Cromwell, Alexandra, and Wanaka over this last period of time. Our band members enjoy what we're doing, and we class it as a community service for special occasions, and I'm sure that we probably leave a mark wherever we go. Our next play out will be, of course, 28th of this month at the Alexandra Blossom Festival, and we are dragging in a few members from outside our area as well to help, which is part of the musical community world. A B flat here is the same as a B flat anywhere in the world, and we get members from Gore and Otago, and we go and help them on occasions too, and it's generally a note for note sort of swap. So I would like to support the application of our band. I'd like to say also that I might have mentioned the band was sponsored years ago by the old Borough Council, and it used to be called the Roxburgh Municipal Silver Band. What a fancy flowery name. But when he went over and changed to the Central Otago District Council, etc., that lovely flowing name had to be wiped from the board. So we are very much municipally minded. So I'd like to support our application for funds, Mr. Chairman, and board members.
Thank you, Doug.
Any questions?
You guys are very much an institution in this valley. You got any questions, Russell?
No.
Sure.
Have you been asked to, has the band been asked to play at the Thieves Valley, but they're looking at doing for Christmas through this year?
To the what, Freddie?
They're doing a Thieves Valley, like it's taking a Christmas party off the street.
Right.
And that alley and between the ball and the goldfields, and then using the car park.
Oh,
Have you been
no,
approached?
not yet, no.
Would you like to?
Put it right in, yes, get it in.
Okay.
We have played many Christmas parties outside 103, or wherever they be.
Yeah.
One year we played outside Altenberg's Diner on Christmas Eve until the morning, and we have a beautiful photograph here of somebody giving out conductor some money. And that night, Snowflake Blazes was half a gallon milk engine. Fantastic photograph.
You want us to put a hat in front of you
Oh,
for
heaven.
donations? You can bust.
All right, thanks.
Might have to get a license for that though.
No.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, thanks very much. No more questions?
Thanks, Doug.
See you then.
Sally.
Thank you.
Right, next up is Anne Rogers, speaking on behalf of the Entertainment Centre.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to our request for a grant. The Roxburgh Cinema has been operating from the Roxburgh Entertainment site since 1897, continuously running movies. It's a charitable trust and run completely by volunteers. As such, everything that we earn through the showing of movies and what have you, and fundraisers we do goes back into improvements in the theatre. Most recently, we've upgraded got a new screen, a new sound system, and a few years back we put in the attic theatre. So there's been quite a lot of work. The next thing on our radar is new seating, which of course is a huge project. So what we're trying to do is increase the visibility of the theatre, and the board very kindly gave us a grant last year for a sign up, because up until then we had no signage. And this year we're again the same sort of thing we've been doing for some time, about having light boxes on either side of the entrance to kind of highlight the fact that the movie theatre is there at the moment. Everything is on little bits of paper stuck to the doors, which are in the set. It's really hard to see, so it's just to kind of raise that visibility. In terms of priorities for the trust, if we are able to get those kinds of promotion grants, then this kind of grant to promote the theatre more, hopefully get more people coming in, and we can do more upgrades to the theatre. So we were thinking about doing this ourselves. We have been thinking for some time about putting our boxes in, but again, that would take away from the reserve we have to do those bigger projects later on, and this is a direct community benefit. Particularly important at the moment because, as the committee, the board's probably aware, the theatre's been closed for 3.5 months. There is a holding cost to us at the moment. We have to pay insurances and EFTPOS fees and things like that. It's a couple $100 every month, which is sort of eating into our reserves and making it probably less likely that in terms of us being able to justify spending that kind of money going forward. Yeah, I guess that's probably the main things. So we'd really appreciate the consideration of being able to put these light boxes in to raise the profile and enable this theatre to continue running as it has done since 1890.
Do we know the cost of that, is that?
Pardon?
What's the cost of that, the light box?
The light boxes, the quote that we've got is for 2 that are lit. That's 2,100. They're full poster size and they would sit each side of the building.
I've always wanted to see the big canvas, you know, one of those canvas archways.
Yeah.
On that, yeah, coming across.
There used to be one, but it was covered in it was old.
Yes, that
It was remote. Yeah,
Street.
yeah.
Something
Yeah.
coming out from the front would actually really draw.
And that's what we
the
thought
eyes.
about the light boxes and an option for that as
Right,
well, is
yeah.
because they'll sit on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
On the 2 columns on either side. Ideally, so.
Got any questions, Russell?
No.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Okay, final speaker this morning in public forum was Tash Kay. Speaking on behalf of Unarunga Tahi.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, like everybody else, thank you for the opportunity to speak to our application. So I am lucky enough to be team lead for the Youth Trust in Alexandria. So we cover from Miller's Flat through to Alex and through to Manitoba. We are applying for operational costs to help us continue running in Roxburgh. We have a building that's kind of nicknamed the Den, which is the old Scout Hall down on Teviot Street. What are we doing for the Roxburgh youth? We run a drop-in every Tuesday afternoon, and it's becoming a very popular spot to be. We'll probably be getting between 13 and 15 young people there every week, and we have lots of activities, food and games that we do. We also running a program at the moment called Mahi Mai Toa, and that's an adventure-based program where we take young people out of school 1 day a week. There's criteria to meet for these young people. It's sort of disengaged in school, at risk of being disengaged, anxiety, depression, those kind of things. So that's a 20-week program, and we've had an absolute ball running it with the young group of girls that we've had. That's about to wind up probably halfway through next term. We also run holiday programs. So if we have young people who want to come from Roxburgh, one of our team will come and pick them up, and we'll take them back to Alex and then drop them back off at the end of the program, just to take away that barrier of travel, which is sometimes a challenge for working families and also a cost for working families. We are not government funded, so we are Central Lakes Trust are one of our main sponsors, and then it's club charities and everybody else that we can
Does Eva contribute?
Who's that, sorry?
Does Eva contribute?
No, no. They don't.
Okay,
What's the age range?
So we work with 10 to 24-year-olds. At the moment, I would say it's 13 to 16-year-olds, as we were kind of working in the age group the majority of the time currently. Yeah. I think one of the greatest services that we offer is our one-on-one mentoring service as well. So I forgot to mention that. So we are working with 2 young people currently in Roxburgh, and that's where they're assigned a youth worker, and they're kind of the special buddy and they will support them through whatever challenges that it is that they're having at that time. And we stay with them for as long as is needed, so that might be 6 months, but you know, that could be 3 years. Yeah, so there's no timeframes around how long we stay with them. Yeah.
So in the valley, what's the age?
So the ones that are coming to our drop-ins are probably, I would say that 10 to 13 age group.
Right.
Our venture-based program are 14, 15-year-olds, and our mentoring is 13 and 14-year-olds. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we just, I'm a rural, grew up rurally, so my passion is for rural New Zealand, and I think sometimes that we get not forgotten, forgotten about, and to get this services to these rural areas is super hard. So if we can act as that wee bit of a backstop or that support for those people, and being able to connect them with the services that they actually need, because sometimes you don't know what's actually available in our communities. Yeah.
Particularly in this environment where a number of kids are being sent away to boarding school at an early age, and your social groups within town are very small.
Yeah.
Very small.
Creates challenges.
Yeah.
The isolation and not finding your people, I think, is a big challenge. Yeah.
You strike many with mental health issues,
All of them. Yeah.
so do you refer on to psychiatrists?
Yes, that's a challenge as well, because there's lots of waiting lists. To try and get into the mental health team at Dunstan, if that's sometimes challenging too, if you're not quite ticking all the boxes. But yes, but we absolutely have 100% refer. We also have the challenge that young people have a stigma around seeing a counsellor and a psychologist, and they don't want to do that. So it takes us a wee bit of time and influence to get them to go.
So then, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Any more questions from yourself?
Nice, great work, by the way. Yeah, excellent.
Is there anything we can do as a community grant, you know, aside from grants and stuff like that? What do you think as a community? Or can we do something more, or maybe get regular people down to see these kids?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one.
Yeah, because I imagine it's a constantly moving landscape for you. So.
I think there's a lot of, would say boredom, but I think teenagers just like to be bored anyway. I think that's a teenage thing. When I ask them what they want to do anyway.
I've seen Inside Out too.
I just think it's access to counsellors and yeah, it's tricky. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with light bulbs going on, yeah. It'd be interesting to get some feedback.
Some really cool stuff is that the kids don't take the opportunities that are always given to them, right? So I know, like, kids are brought up to go to journeys, they're brought up to play in a touch competition. Yeah.
So we get them into something like a bit of downhill cycling or horse riding, a bit of training a dog, some of the rural activities that require discipline and decision making.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, we're looking at bringing our BLACT program here next year.
Sorry, say that again, which program?
BLACT. So that, so we
6 revolvers.
So it's the military style kind of boot camp program. And it involves, so they learn drill, and then it's always like a physical challenge. So it might be doing a workout. It could be doing team building exercises. It could be doing a skills carry around the streets. It's lots of cool things. And it runs for a term, and then at the end of that term, we have a longest day challenge, and that's the kids are all woken up at 6 in the morning, and then they're doing activities right through to about 3 o'clock, and that ends with a fire truck pull down the main street, and then we have a march out, a graduation ceremony in front of all their friends and family.
So is that with local military people?
So it's run in conjunction with Blue Light. So we have the guy who's currently running it for us. He's come through the BLAST program from as a year 9. He was in the Army Territorials and currently still is in the Army Territorial. So he's been a product of the BLAST program. So cool, yeah. So now he's running it for us. And Leah Chapman, and she's also the same. She's come through the program herself.
We've got a few weeks now.
So Tim, we've got a comment?
Yeah, just, I don't know, I've been to a dozen or more, you know, the mayor attends the final march out and the kids just, they just love it. You know, I don't know what's wrong with them. Peter, you could possibly comment, getting up at 6 in the morning and marching through snow seems to be good, you know, but they just come away with such pride and different kids sometimes. It's just magnificent. So I'm a big believer in the BLAST program.
And it seems to be based on the Limited Services Volunteer Program, which is quite successful this week.
Yeah. So it's not like the boot camp that's in the precedent. They volunteer to do it and they come back. That's what I found with schools that do it year after year. The kids do it for 3 years. It's just.
And then it gives them the opportunity to take in that leadership role as well, you know, and they come back and.
Yeah, and I've had at the dinners afterwards, I've had parents comment, cannot believe the change in this child in 3 months. So big believer in them. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Josh.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
Right, on to business on our agenda. The next item is confirmation of the minutes. I take it that I take them as being read. Can I have, and I move that they be accepted. Can I have a second for that, please? All those in favour say aye. Those against say nay. Carried. Okay, declarations of interest. Just remind you that we all have a responsibility to declare our declarations of interest and keep the register updated. And if you have any potential conflicts of interest in today's agenda, we should declare them now, one of which I will. I am the treasurer of the entertainment centre, so I need to step aside when we discuss the grant application for the entertainment centre. Really should be the whole item.
Won't it just be for the promotions grants component? I think it's passed, because it's only the promotion grant that impacts on.
That's it.
So you could remain the community grant conversation. That's why you decide for the promotions grant.
Okay. Has anyone else got anything to declare?
No.
Okay, thank you. Item 24.6.2. Community and promotion grants applications.
So, sorry, veteran answer, not sure if you heard that. Norm will receive this promotions grants part of the conversation, so we'll essentially treat this as one paper, but there'll be 2 different conversations.
So thank you. I should show you, I've got a few points today. So grants enable the board to support incredible projects and activities that are led by the community, and we've heard an awesome range of them this morning. Often grants from the board will help leverage other funding from elsewhere. It might be other trusts or gaming trusts or central government. And Teviot Valley is, the community board is able to fund things that other grants don't. So the fund sort of work nicely together to fill gaps for each other, if you like, and the board is able to, and examples would be operating costs. Many other grants won't fund operating costs where the board can. And you also are able to fund informal groups, and many of the others can't, or only to a $1,000 limit. Annually, the Teviot Valley Community Board has $5,000 in community grants and $2,000 in promotions grants. This round, we received 3 applications for the community grants, requesting a total amount of 7,600, and 2 promotional grant applications, requesting a total of 3,967. I've got comments to make about the individual community grants, and then just another generic comment before I hand over to Ence. So in terms of the application from the band, I fully recommend the requested amount that they've requested. No changes there. They haven't requested an increase. They're doing a fantastic job. We've been funding them for many years. So I requested, my recommendation is it's funded as requested. Puna Rangatahi, it's awesome to see a new application come to the board, and it was thanks to the mayor suggested at their AGM, and it was really useful because they do activity here specifically in the valley, and it's neat that they were able to come to the board. Now, as a staff member, I've recommended $1,000 to remain within budget, but I don't think your request of 1,600 is unreasonable. And if you wanted to use your reserves, then I would suggest that that would be one that you would consider. The District Museum, awesome entity. However, their budget that they submitted does not support the amount that they've applied for. They haven't shown demand for the $4,000, so I've requested $2,000. It remains at $2,000, and that it was increased to $2,000 from. So for many years the board funded $400. In 22-23 it increased to $1,786 when they bought their new building, and then last year increased that to $2,000. And so they have had a significant level of increase, and their budget isn't showing demand for that. So ultimately it's your decision, but I don't recommend that. Finally, I'll just note that in the financial consideration section of the report, I'm noting the resolution that's set with council about the use of reserves. So often we'll come and say, if a board wants to use reserves to pay for grants, then it's by way of recommendation to council. However, in your instance, there's a resolution by council. I'll read it out, might be useful. Yeah. Agrees with the Teviot Valley Community Board that the grants budget for the Teviot Valley remains at 5,200. I've just made a footnote that 200's for Anzac Day, so it's you got 5,000. And that each request will be allocated from the reserves fund as required. And then we've noted in the how much is there. So you've got in the Teviot Grants Reserve Fund, there's 22,000-ish. And in the promotions grant budget reserve, there's 18,915. And there-ish because it was just before financial year that I was asking the finance team for those figures. So there's a slight fluctuation. And so that's what I hand over to Ed.
So I think we should stop that there. Yeah. And do the community grants conversation while we're still at the table, and the do promotions grants.
Any questions?
So the
You've got a resolution.
sorry?
One's got a draft resolution. Readable.
I can read it.
So those are the resolutions put together, recommended.
So you can just change those figures if you want.
Yes. So just sort of going back to, I guess to clarify how and why we ended up with $22,000 sitting in the community grant reserves and the promotion reserves of 18,000. This because they've been under subscribed.
Yes.
So more recently, I've taken to, I guess, promoting the use of the grants among the community groups. And the feedback that I get is that the amount of work that goes into applying for a grant and the amount of money that was deemed to be available deterred people from applying. And whether that, was a consequence of time and effort in their assessment of it. And I think we've had that feedback from the community and other forums too. So I took it upon myself to promote the use of the grants, and that was one of the reasons why when I attended the museum AGM, I encouraged them to, I guess, lift their sights in terms of their grants. I didn't anticipate that they would not justify any increase apart from saying Norman told us to.
I was surprised that you did that.
But it was in the right context.
Look, my recommendation is based on this year's budget. I think once, and they're not showing the need for it this year. In future years, they may well, because they're not quite open yet. They're only open for certain.
Yeah.
And once they're open, then they may absolutely need an increase.
Well, I mean, on the contrary, they are working extremely hard to get open, and they are spending everything they've got on getting that place right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do believe myself that, when you look at what support is provided to other museums in the district of council, that these guys aren't asking for a lot at all. And that was all part of this conversation and the learning process that I went through. Mark probably has a greater view of it.
Just, I know those figures in my head, Norm, so I just for the other members. So Vincent gives the Alexandra District Museum $82,000. Manitoto gives the Manitoto Museum $8,300, and Cromwell Museum gets around $40,000 mark.
Yeah.
So you're right in terms of your contribution compared to other parts of the
Yeah. So I'm sort of for a facility. I'm not saying that we should, but I just consider what we actually, how we can actually help them, and we do have to research that, and we need to consider just what the benefit there is to the community from that. Just so Mark's aware,
Sorry for lateness.
I've declared my interest in the entertainment sector. I'm going to have to step aside from the conversation around promotions grant. So we're talking about some community grants at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll deal with that, and Sally's going to step in as chair.
No, Sally came
Oh,
up.
Mark,
No, well, Sally came up. Well, I don't mind doing it, but I've just sort of, he's just walked in the door. I'm just trying to get my head around everything. Yeah.
Going to do this resolution, then
Yeah, well, deal with the community one, and then we'll work out who's going to
Okay.
share after.
Right.
So has anyone else got any questions around the grants process and the amounts that are available?
The only point I would add on that is if you keep rolling it over every year, you end up rating your community more for the following year, and you're building a buffer. Maybe the thing to do is to not rate them the following year for the ward rate and use what you've got. By rolling it over and continuing to rate your ward, you might want to leave that money with them and you use what you've got. It keeps compounding. And if you don't get enough and it keeps compounding even more, then perhaps in that particular sense, you don't need to rate your ward as much particular bit.
You're saying use the reserves. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
In the future, yes.
but in future years for this particular category, because if you don't spend it and you keep rolling it over.
Yeah,
No point in just sitting there, is it?
yeah, no, it's a very good idea.
Good point.
So they're being rated now for that. Yeah.
So that money's there for this year. So that's
In future.
in future, yes. So we will be having a conversation with all community boards at a later stage. Budgets.
So the community is being rated for the $22,000.
Correct. At some point in the past, you've
Yeah.
got that have cost damage.
And that is rated every year.
Whatever.
That's rated for 5,000.
5,000.
That's accumulated due to underspends to being 22.
So what was the point you were making in Peter?
Well, if you don't outspend it and you roll it over to the following year,
Yeah,
then, and then that following year, you continue to rate your community for that, you're just getting it, it's more and more. When perhaps you should be saying, okay, well, we can decrease the rate we charge the community for that following year because we've carried over it. It's, you don't want to be building up your reserves to such an extent, it's ridiculous.
exactly.
But it's better that they retain the money than you just put it in your back pocket for a rainy day.
Totally agree.
But yes, so we will be having that conversation probably October, which I'll around budgets for class.
Right, so
The museum was asking for 4,000.
taking this forward from here, Rebecca's recommendations. 1,000 for Prinarone Tahi Run. 2,000 for the Roxborough band and 2,000 for the museum. You have to vote on those individually.
No, we didn't want to do it.
Has anyone got any, I guess, anything they want to say about those numbers?
I would be quite happy to give Puna Rangatahi the full amount that they're requesting, which is 1,600, because I think they're doing an outstanding job for that age group in the community. Yeah, and I think, I think it's really beneficial to our younger people. And I'm happy with the other two amounts as
they are.
yeah, as they are.
When's the museum going to be officially opened?
October, sometime in
I'm just wondering if, so I'm just gonna put this out there, that maybe they give them their $2,000 grant, you've recommended, and then just hold maybe a little bit in reserve if they had costs for, just earmark it, so if they have costs for their opening and need a little bit more out of it, because they've asked them for. And so we're cutting that in half. I'm just wondering if we can maybe put $750,000 in reserve for if they need it for.
One a possibility would be to do the 2,000 and then say come back in March so they can get 2 bites at the cherry.
Oh, the second round.
Yeah.
Second round.
Yeah.
That's a good
Are
idea.
you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay, I'll.
So that would be,
sounds
I can,
plain.
I'll let them all know this afternoon, just a quick email before they read about the newspaper. And I was saying, look, they approved the 2,000, but said that if you needed to come back in March, they'd be happy to consider a second application.
Yeah.
And is there any way that the applications for grants can be made a little bit easier?
Well, that we've got a workshop about that.
That's another discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, because I've had the same.
So that means that we exceed our
By
budget by $600. So do we need to go through a process now then that says that we're willing to draw on reserves?
That's what I checked with you, because we've got that resolution from council already. we were thinking that it probably didn't need to be by recommendation back to council because they've accepted. If you stay within that reserve, then you
Yeah.
can spend that.
Yeah. So I think that says I read it.
Yeah.
Is that we have got the authority to
Do-
allocate the reserves.
I think we just need to indicate in here
Yeah,
that 600 of that's going to be coming from something.
yeah. So we're just saying that we have a point E where it says, that the Teviot Valley Community Board notes, that $600 will come from the, what is it called? The Community Grant Reserve Fund.
Yeah.
Can we go stay within that $600 by giving, I'm not even gonna do it on the keeping it to $1,000 and then staying within our.
No, that means,
No,
I mean,
because we've got
I
reserves.
think there's,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
there's a general support there.
Yeah, I think we're doing great.
So I just need to move that motion then.
Yeah.
So $600 will come from the Teviot.
Yeah, if you're happy with all.
Yeah, so, I move the motion then that we receive a report and accept the level of significance. B, allocate $1,600 to Ranga Tahi. C, allocate $2,000 to the Pioneer Jersey Brass Band and allocate $2,000 to the District Museum. And note that $600 needs to come out of our Community Grant Reserve Fund. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Thanks, Sally. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Carried.
Thank you. I'll give you the next.
Right, at this point in time, I need to step aside from
Yeah, no, if we
chair. Chair.
At least different,
Councillor Pugh.
at this stage, if we jump to the standing orders, it's simply marked that takes, over as secretary chair and here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do it. Is it okay if I do it from here? Everybody happy with that? So the next item on the agenda is the promotions grants.
So, sorry, you've got Anne to speak to the report in the first instance, will you?
Great. And we have hands to speak to the report.
Alison Mason for that. So you do have two grants, signed for the promotions grant pot today, and you heard from representatives of both earlier today, Community District Arts Trust and the Roxbury Entertainment Centre. You have $2,000 in this year's budget for the promotions grant, and the combined total of these two grants is $3,967. So the recommendations in the reports is to fund the entire amount applied from the Central Coast Arts Trust for the Cover to Cover event, and the recommendation for the Roxbury Entertainment Centre light boxes at $1,000. You do, as per the community funds, a reserve that's built up that you do have an option to use. That reserve for the promotions grant is at the June was $18,915 available. So you do have opportunity to fund additionally to that if you so choose. Any questions around reports?
So for the light box, that's for two light boxes, one on either side of the hallways. So,
Yeah.
so that's, just under expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the idea.
I know you can't vote, Norm, but are you able to comment?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we'll assume that there's been significant effort put into costing the light boxes, so we'll get the best deal.
They're not great.
Okay. Well, Sally, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have an opinion, if you'd like to hear my opinion.
Sure.
I think that we should just fund the whole light box because it's pretty hard to fund half a light box, and it would look a bit silly having half a light box up in front of the cinema. We have got reserves, and I think it would be good also to be able to fund the book launch as well, and the Teviot, bringing people down here for that. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, it's supported one of our owners and like, so I'm really happy for it.
Thanks, so. Russell?
Yeah, I'm happy.
You're happy to fund how much?
Oh,
So,
they asked for?
well,
2,000.
they've asked for $1,000 for the book launch and 3,000 for the light boxes. We don't have that amount in the actual this year's grants, but we could dip into our reserves and therefore fund the whole light boxes for 3,000 and the book launch as well.
But how much do we have to dip into the reserve to do that? $3,000.
It'd be a total of 2,000 into the reserves.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Thank you. Sure.
Oh, I'm happy with both, but I think the light boxes will be fabulous. And I think it's good to support a local author.
And I'm of the same opinion, as long as the book launch goes ahead. I'm not suggesting it won't, but sometimes some things happen and we're talking 3 months' time, or 2 months' time. The funds are specifically for the book launch and not for anything else. But, how can we ring fence that? Or is that commonly done, that we say it's for the launch, and if the launch doesn't happen, can we?
Say something to the event taking place.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well, therefore.
Subject to the event taking place.
No, sorry, can I just query that? Subject to the event taking place, which is post the event?
Yes.
So you're saying you won't give the money out until after the event's happened?
No, if they cancel it, then they would pay the grant back.
Okay, because the way I would read that is saying they approve the grant subject to the event taking place.
Have it not having
Meaning
taken
it's
place,
happened,
but-
it's happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it? That's how we normally do it. Rebecca's the expert, so I defer to her.
I think they will, I mean, they will be managing the project as they were these bedrooms.
So just for clarity as well, this is not a new event, things like that. It might be new to Teviot Valley, but this has been run over 4 or 5 years at least.
Oh, sorry.
And it's very previously, that didn't take place with the COVID, it was moved into another year.
Yeah. But they do have approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be okay.
Okay, so we can just, in six, directed to 297 and 2 number.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we've had some slight amendments there. Everyone around here can read that, and I presume it's available to read online. So I put the motion that,
Sorry. We've just received information from Saskia, who's just watching online.
yep,
Although we have this in reserve, council's reserve funds are in deficit. So what this would mean, actually, this is pulling on debt to be able to fund these, even though it's from your own reserve. So it would have to go to council would have to be a recommendation to go to council to spend the money from reserve. Essentially what the recommendation is.
yeah. Good practice would be that it goes, because it is going to impact our debt levels, because our general cost council reserves are in deficit. So that's a cash issue rather than a reserves issue, isn't it? If it's in our reserves, it sits in our reserves. But it's not cash in reserve. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what you're saying is if it can come out of reserves, and though we're talking Teviot Valley reserves,
You ought to be value reserve.
yeah. But the funding of it would require you to pull down another X amount of debt.
Could be. So that's why it needs to be a recommendation to council because that,
I see, I see. Okay,
it's a small amount, so it might be never into that, but it's good practice.
understand?
So that would require an additional.
J, so number J, that, well, that we,
You probably add it to I, then you.
Yeah.
so normally we just approve this, but in this case, we're going to recommend this instead.
You're recommending the additional, so you can approve everything else, but you're recommending the 1,967 goes to council.
Subject to council approval. Okay.
I would make a formal resolution as well, Tony, and that's because they already have a resolution council to allow them to do so. So the resolution, this one, just note it's formal resolution and we'll put the number in once we've got it.
Yeah.
And we can note the recommendation council 22.1 or whatever, and recommends that, just so it's got to take a chance to council, does that make sense?
The same one.
So, that the community board notes resolution and we'll just insert it from the referral, you know what the resolution number is. I might have it in the talk. Yeah. Notes resolution.
I don't put there for 9 so.
It's from the 6th of June council meeting, but we'll put the actual resolution number in.
Yeah.
Notes resolution and just put exit. Yeah. Notes resolution,
It's, advising that the board can consider a piece from its reserve fund. And recommend the council, yeah. Does that make sense? So what we're trying to do is put, when council consider it, you're showing them that they've already thought about this before, this is what they said then, and, yeah.
And, we're gonna do that for the community one, too.
We have to go back.
Go back and
If you're, you would say, do you have a second?
All right, so, the motion for items F to I on the board there, has been discussed and broadly agreed on, so I'll put that to the vote. Do we have a seconder for that? Oh, yes. Second, Will, thank you. So, we still have a quorum, so. Yep.
Yeah.
So all those in favour say aye. Against?
And, if we could just now return to the previous, if I go back up to there, are the mover and seconder, happy? I think Sally's obviously, but she's on the way back. But, are you happy with, the amendment to D? The E, to reflect what we just looked about with the other one?
I agree, it wants to happen again, not happen. I think we're already getting the authority.
Effectively, what we're saying then is that any expenditure that undertaken by the council for any purpose is going to increase debt.
No.
No.
It's only if you go into reserves. But there's the potential, like if you're just extending within your current, what you're rate funded for, your war base rate. If you're only expensing within the amount you've got, but because you're dipping into reserves, that portion could have an impact on council's debt.
Any use of any reserves.
Yes.
Yes.
Any reserves would be right.
Would increase, would potentially.
Well, it needs council to have a look at it because that has an impact on our
cash flow.
Yeah. And
Council's overall debt position.
it's growing.
So, yeah, I won't I won't, continue this.
We're increasing.
If you're happy with the way that. Well, not happy, you can agree that it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Already approved.
Yeah.
Done promotions and stuff.
Yes.
Just need to now.
Yeah, well, no, it's just, we're happy, so you just vote.
So you just need to do a vote. It's moving back to you now.
Norm's back as chair now, as we were, he's happy with the change, the resolution,
So now you just need to.
and now we just need a vote.
The vote to change item E.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just put to the vote then that we agree to change item E in the community grants resolution.
This is an amendment or just?
Yes.
change?
The amendment.
Okay, well, I'll second the amendment. I'll second the amendment. Right.
So it's already been rebutted, and so we just need a vote on the.
I'll vote on it.
So all those in favour say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carry. Right. Long-term plan timeline.
Yeah, I was going to be sassy, but that's supposed to be me.
Oh, happy to do it.
Oh, yeah, it's just a case of a quick update to the board, and we're going around each board in this round just to say this is where we are in the timeline of the LTP and the worm thing going.
Can you put that up on?
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah. So yeah, happy to answer any questions or things if possible. I'll put up the word.
So you asking for questions now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the museum stuff. Sorry, no, I was on. But at what point do we get to where they put up some comparative financials? I mean, I'm just unaware of the process as such, in that we have a current long-term plan that's in place.
Yeah.
Now, are we amending that or just?
So the adoption of the new long-term plan.
Yeah.
Well, that other one will just be a historical document.
Yes.
Things will carry through. There'll be projects and all that sort of stuff that will come from one to the other.
Yeah.
But there may be, if council may choose a completely different direction.
Right. Yeah.
And given the financial situation, we're expecting to see, how do we address affordability, so on and so on.
So there won't be a formal exercise to say this is what we had planned and this is what we now plan. Really, we'll just say this is what we're now planning.
Yeah, but there will be a bit of historical context because we can't say, oh, we're not going to worry about our bridge strategy because council's adopted the bridge strategy.
Yeah.
So, that's sorts of things will flow through.
And if there is a financial, annual financial impact, when will we sort of see what that annual financial impact on, particularly on OPEX is?
So we should be, we're aiming to, Saskia's online, in the last quarter of this month and probably closer to November, December, we should have, on the basis of all these workshops and discussions and the guidance we've received, it's a bit of an iterative process.
Yeah.
We should be able to bring back a reasonable understanding of what the operating capital cost, all those sorts of things, a pretty good deep understanding of the financial impact of decisions that are made.
Yeah.
No doubt before we hit the end of this year. So as we go into the new year, amendments could be made or whatever, but we will definitely be getting the first cut in some details before we knock off at the end of this year.
Right. Yeah. But yesterday we had a few issues that will have serious OPEX implications. And to see that comparison of that with current annual plans would be good. In terms of what this board has to approve as such, can you sort of outline what that is, or we?
Well, if we stay with the status quo and digitisations,
Yeah.
then we'll be coming to you because you would be a key step in the process, because you would have the responsibility for the various activities.
The reserves and grants effectively.
That's right.
Up to.
And cemeteries, council facilities, not this one obviously, but others, in those 6 or 7 activities. So we would be having to go around the community board. Equally, depending on what council chooses to do at the end of this month, we would still be coming to community boards in the next rounds to say, well, you know, what is it? You're all aware of the financial challenges, but you know, what are the things that Teviot Valley would like to see carried through into the LTP, so that we can work that through into the respective budgets. We would have to push that through to council, because ultimately the LTP is a council, mayor council decision. But so, you know, that's an ongoing conversation that we would be having.
So at what point is that, sorry, that we would say, hey, I want to, here's an idea we want to put into the LTP. When do we put our hand up for that?
29th of October, probably the first opportunity.
So,
Workshop, wouldn't
Yeah, so yes, as far as budgets go, they're aiming to bring more specific budgets in a paper at the last meeting of the year, so it's December.
Okay, so
And also, the October round will be the opportunity for the next.
The October round.
Oh, community board meeting, so the next round. Is going to be a West.
yeah, there it is. Yep. So the next one.
That's the next, at the next board meeting, which is over 31st of October.
Yeah, there's going to be a workshop session.
So we can table anything that we want to be considered for the LTP at that time. So it leaves us 6 weeks. Yeah. Get organised if we want to put a proposition up.
so if you go into districtisation and we, like Norman goes and represents the board at council, what is it, 3 times a year?
As many times as he wants, but 3 times is a minimum.
3 times is the minimum, okay. So if we want something for that for here and Norman takes that to council, is that then voted on by council?
You would put it through the, well, if it's got a financial implication, you're best to put it through the LTP so that the budget's put in place. Because if you come to us in January or February or December next year and say, hey, we've decided we want to do this, then it's a lot harder to achieve that because the budget's already been put in place in this instance. It'll be the next 2 years and the next 9. So this is the golden opportunity that every board has to take every 3 years to go, right, here's what we want. And Norman would, if distributisation doesn't occur, then it would be for the board to go through that. If it incurs a whole lot of debt, council would still have to look at it within our budgets, because you'll be asking to access debt. So distributisation doesn't make a big difference there, but if it's within your capacity, then it's up to you. If, however, it's distributisation does occur, either option 1 or option 2, would be for Norman, the board to advocate. So the example I've used at the drop-ins is every board decides they want to spend $500,000 on a playground in their ward in year 1. Or it might just be up to the board chair to convince the council that you're going to be year 1 and the others are going to be year 2, 3 and 4, because we may not have the money to do it every year. And that's where the strength of the community board is going to be. If distributisation occurs, it's going to be so crucially important. And as I think I said to you at one stage, if you ever wanted to do a new playground at St. John Park, St. George Park, King George Park, be having a barbecue down there and invite the councillors down on a Sunday to show what it is you want to do. Yeah, that is where the board's going to have that magnificent strength and ability to do it. And actually, if you were wanting to spend $500,000 and you're having to rate your public to do it, you probably want to have the barbecue to get them alongside and bring your councillors alongside as well. So that's where I see it working.
I was just a little bit worried that if we take something, even if it's in the LTP, and take something to council, put it to council and, it goes to a vote, that we are two votes.
Yeah.
One vote, so
One vote,
Yeah, and look, that's the reality of living in the debt situation that we're in, and which is getting worse, that we don't have enough money for everyone to do what it is they want to do at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we're just having a problem with household finances, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And to an extent, we already have that ability because we hold the purse strings to the debt. And at the moment, we're looking at, the not too distant future in terms of local government and when we're going to reach that debt ceiling. So things get awfully difficult.
So what it comes down to is that the council would decide the priorities within the district as to which is the most, I don't know what the word is, important, urgent, deserving.
All of, I think, deserving all of those groups.
Yeah, all of those things, and go, okay, well, on this occasion, this is what I've decided that he's going to, and you could be third or what.
So if you have an unsafe playground at King George Park, and Cromwell has a shoddy playground at Alpha Street, as mayor, I'd be going, well, the unsafe one's going to be priority. That's my thinking we're going to have to do.
So we must be in pretty good shape here, looking forward on the CapEx, because over the next 5 years for water, the proposal is 55 million for district-wide of CapEx for water, and of which 225,000 of that 55 million is for the Teviot Valley. So we must spend.
Well, over 10 years, it's probably 272 million over the next 10 years for water.
Yeah.
Is the cost across the district is where our current thinking is. I would have thought Teviot's a bit more than that because we know that the Little Roxburgh waste treatment facility is likely to be in the 1.7.
Yeah, I've just looked the next 5 years, which covers the LTP.
Oh,
the LTP I know is 9 years, but we just established that, it sort of gets revised every 3 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the point is, mate, because the debt is incurred by the whole district, so you can't go with our portion of the debt's this much.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying to get some, picture.
You'll be looking at old numbers.
No, I looked at yesterday's numbers.
No, that is not the new LTP modelling that's being done right now by the water thing. Why are you thinking about what Julie has here?
Those numbers there. So the water is 55 million for 5 years and 225 specific to Teviot. Granted, there are some CapExes in there which is generalised, but a small portion. And for wastewater, the total is 69 million over the next 5 years, of which 320,000 is specifically to this ward. So what I'd like to say is that some of the other costs that are happening are a result of vision by other wards. Other wards have had a vision and said, we want to do this. This is what we see is happening in our ward.
It's growth.
Yes.
Because of growth.
Yes. Yeah. But,
and compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And vision. And I'm suggesting to our board, we should have a vision for here, and we should put some things forwards.
Yeah. And that's Teviot spatial plan.
Yeah.
That captures the growth for this region. How does this valley lay itself down? And that's what that work is, because that will then say, when growth comes, where can it go? And what do we have to do to get ahead of them?
Yeah, yeah. So we as a board need to have a vision and say, this is what we want to have for our valley for the next certain period of time. We put it together as a package and we promote it to be included in the LTP.
So this is why we're having a discussion now. As I said before, we've got 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to meet up.
To get our ducks in a row and decide amongst ourselves what we want to promote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as Peter just said, the spatial plan is a crucial part of that. What Mark is saying, I think that one of the things he's highlighting is that The information that's available about Cromwell's growth, the information that's available about Alexandria's growth is vastly superior to what information that is available about our growth and what is required in terms of infrastructure development to sustain that growth.
I'm not sure how that works. It all comes from Stats New Zealand and from the census.
No, I'm talking about, Julie mentioned yesterday hydraulic modelling. Understanding what is actually, what they require in terms of water volumes, water flow and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so
What we're seeing at the moment is very low level of activity in terms of capex development in the Teviot Valley compared with the effort that has gone into Cromwell and Alexandra overcome.
Realistically, we have to meet the growth where the growth's happening.
I don't leave us out because we may suffer the same thing in the next 5 years.
Oh, and when that starts to happen, then that would be it. We can't build the growth. It's not at a level beyond what is reasonably anticipated.
Yeah,
that's
Some of it's chicken and egg as well. Will we grow if we can't,
what
we
I'm
don't have
saying
facilities and promote ourselves?
Well, at the moment, we don't, if you're talking Three Waters, I haven't heard anybody in this area say, well, I can't build a house here because there isn't enough water. Whereas we're starting to touch that.
So what I'm trying to say, we're not a drain on
There is,
the big pond at the moment.
evidently, once Haven is full, that will be the Max Brown sewage.
the commentary that you hear is that we'll be constrained.
The commentary that you're hearing didn't start. I don't think that anybody. It needs to be treated with that, because I haven't heard that.
So what I'm saying is that the information that is available to us, given level of security or peace of mind,
Yeah.
needs to be put out.
So the spatial plan will come back to this committee.
Yeah.
At the next meeting. We were hoping to have it ready for this time round, but it wasn't. So we'll be aiming to bring it back to this, which is the guide for growth and Commonwealth spatial plan and so on and so on. That's the start of the process.
So when we come to looking at our spatial plan, we're going to have some realisation as to what's growing, what capability we've got to grow.
It might be useful. If Julie comes that day, let's speak alongside the spatial plan and talk about capacity, because I'd be amazed.
We had time to take it in.
Yeah, and we heard yesterday at Roxburgh East Village, was it an additional 25 homes?
Oh.
Yes, it was 25.
Yeah,
Already waiting to
well,
be another 25. But the upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant there, I think it's coming in at about 1.7 million.
Yeah.
And I'll have to check that on. And that will accommodate the growth, what we've just seen come through there in terms of resource consent.
Yeah. But we know that there is other growth happening.
Yeah, I think what Tim's saying, what you heard yesterday from Julie was, growth is happening across the district and definitely happening here. What Julie's doing through the hydraulic modelling is understanding where they're getting constrained by capacity within the system. And that's what they're showing. And clearly, obviously, in Cromwell, there's areas where there is already starting to hit the capacity.
Exactly.
But from her understanding, my best understanding, that's not what they're seeing happen with the Teviot Valley. There isn't a significant amount of spending. And I guess evidence on terms of growth, we had the VG Patterson report around the economic social context for Central Otago with longer term view, that was out by 25 years, was that 90% of the growth will happen around Alexandra or the Vincent and Cromwell wards, population or revenue growth. So that's the evidence that does get used to then help the water team, roading, infrastructure, understand where they need to put their study in.
Yeah, and 10% of the growth might come from here, and 90% from the outside of here.
That's right, but it's when things start to hit capacity, that's when you get that.
And we're sitting here with, having economic development workshops. So everyone's talking about the need for growth
Yeah, there's the need for growth, absolutely, no doubt about it.
and capacity to accommodate to it.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think what we're saying, and we need you to get a really good response to it. But the network in the Teviot Valley doesn't appear to have a capacity issue to accommodate additional growth, is what we're hearing from her. But she would have to be here to answer that.
Could you repeat that again? Sorry, John.
So what we're saying is every part of the ward wants growth, but in this part of every part of the district wants growth. Judy's works on where is capacity restraining growth. It doesn't appear to be, by the words that she provided yesterday, that the Teviot ward is restrained by capacity to allow for growth.
Yeah.
But Judy has to be here to really respond to that.
So I'm just looking back at the draft spatial plan that came to towards the end of last year. Just reading that the draft spatial plan has been developed to cater for the aspirational level of growth, which was actually a projection higher than the median.
Yeah.
And for the valley to be able to cater for 540 new homes over the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's what the spatial plan is planning, it's trying to plan to accommodate. Which seems to be a pretty high number, but you know, it's not ridiculous, I'm sure.
Good for the Teviot Valley.
15 a year.
I think I'm just looking at that Benji Patterson report you referred to, Dylan.
Yeah.
So between 2018 and 2023, Cromwell grew at 4.9%, Vincent at 2.4, Maniatoto at 1.7, Teviot at 1.2. That's what it is. It's not extreme. But the 1.2 in Teviot comes alongside a 1.3 for New Zealand. So you're still going just about average for New Zealand, just because the candles around are burning a bit brighter. But we can only plan for the growth that's happening and what's projected. And we'll put it another way. If Onslow got the green light, we'd be having an entirely different conversation about what's happening with the three waters in the Teviot Valley. Yes, there would be far greater need that we can say.
So on growth projections, it felt we need to have capacity for 360 new homes.
Yeah.
What came back through the feedback was that they wanted it to be aspirational, so it was designed to accommodate 540 new homes over the next 30 years. So the spatial plan, which will come back to you, is designed around growth, how that is laid down and how, you know, that will feed into the water services plan and all those sorts of the roading network, all that sort of stuff. You know, you'll start seeing some of that flow through into the LTP.
When you're working on low base, 25 just blows out 2 years of growth immediately. That's the on one project.
Yeah, that's right. But the 25 up there, I don't know what time frame that gentleman or developers planning to bring that to the market. Because you couldn't bring all 25 to the market within a year. You know, you might have to, you know, that would be staged, I would have thought.
So that would be on town water.
Well, part of that is service. Yeah.
But beyond that, right?
That's right.
So there's 4 or 5 development projects on the map that we know of, which could easily produce 160.
Yeah.
Well, for solving most of the.
But they just have to build to the demand, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the.
Right. Yeah. So you've got any more questions around the LTP timeline? You just need to, thank you. Move that the report be received. Second for that, please.
Second.
Let's go to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. And thank you for that report. Combined.
Tis I, thank you. Not a lot going on actually. I've been running around the whole district on the districtisation discussions, so that's kept me fairly busy. I did host the one here on the 12th of August with great support from staff and a great turnout by the local community. Around 50 in attendance, which was second only to Cromwell in terms of engagement. By comparison, Alexandra had 8. But that was also the 5th time we've done that presentation in Alexandra to various groups. That decision, as you know, will be made by council on the 25th. I've had an unfortunate run of clashes that have stopped me attending the Roxburgh Business Breakfast since we last met, and yesterday was case in point. But I do hope and intend to make the next one on October the 9th, and that's really been it since our last meeting, unfortunately. I feel like I've been doing nothing, but that's far from the truth.
I'll just move that the news report be received.
Yeah.
Second it.
All those, vote, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carry. News report. Okay, as I highlighted before, I've been attending a number of AGMs of various community groups around and just getting the, I guess, the general feel of the pulse of how these community groups are contributing and I guess surviving. Volunteers. And I've got to say that we're generally in good health. Everyone seems to suffer the same thing. Not enough people putting their hands up to be involved. And I really don't know how we're going to change that. I went along to the museum, AGM. Same group of people. They were there 2 years ago. Doing a fantastic job. We built re-establishing themselves to include the new building that they purchased. And we're going to have a fantastic facility. And it's with Peter's comments this morning around how the museum should be managed as a group of 5. I don't know how that's going to work because we own our own museum. Not you, Peter, sorry, Peter.
Yeah, no, I need that.
So there's some challenges around how they see themselves, I guess, investing into the future, because it does take a lot of money to run a place like that. The Rest Home was no different. Just going to chair the Rest Home Trust. We had 2 other people from outside the standard group in the AGM, one of which became a member of our committee. And so we've gone from having a group of about 15 people to 6. Yet, when a service like that suffers and there's an opportunity for it not to exist anymore, the cry in the community is, how could you? So, I mean, my mantra is to everybody is that be involved. I've attended a couple of workshops, the distributisation of it, we had the community in the hall, and it was really well attended. Oddly enough, same group of people that are attending most of the workshops, same commentary. But it's good to see that those people still sticking with us and supporting our aspirations in terms of getting community feedback. Spent the afternoon with Nick, Lanham and Rebecca, and I can't remember the last name, with the Economic Development Unit. This will probably turn out from the community. There's myself, Russell, and one other. Olga. Something that I thought on Friday afternoon that people were taking a real interest in. There's been several other bits and pieces. Yesterday we had the occasion to attend the LTP, second LTP workshop, which was really beneficial in terms of coming to understand just the challenges, or more detail around the challenges that we're facing as a district. Business group meetings. That group was starting to give a little bit more momentum around it with more people showing an interest in being a part of some of their events. Really well attended by the community board this time, thank you. And just in the next 2 to 3 months in the lead up to Christmas, we've got quite a lot of work outside these meetings for effort that is required in terms of us establishing what it is that as a board we want to take to the LTP or introduce into the LTP process, if anything. But we're rapidly running out of time for that, so we're going to need to put some effort into that. I'm attending the council meeting on the 25th of September, where we've got an opportunity to meet again around the distributisation discussion. Should we need to feel the need that we want to do that, again, we're going to make a decision in the next week, whether that happens or not. That's my report. I'll just move that report be received. Can I have a second, please? We'll vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carried. Members' reports. Mr. Reid, you're first on my left.
Well, I attended the meeting, which was very ably addressed by him on digitalisation, and I didn't know what it meant, but I did after the meeting, so thank you very much for that. I'm a long-term member and past president of the community garden, which the numbers have shrunk away to 5 people now, but we welcomed a new member in, and it's a social group, a useful plot of land that otherwise go to waste, so it's something that keeps me a little bit amused. I don't know anything about gardening, and I don't have a garden, but one day I might. That's what I've got to report.
With the community garden, you guys are providing food into the community, or is it just for those participants?
Yeah, well, various people stop and purchase things. Alice Moore is the treasurer, and she takes a dragon-like approach to, I dare say so, to dealing with people, but so they get vegetables for about half the price of what you pay in a supermarket. And of course, the garden members get free vegetables. So, yeah, sort of.
So is it well patronised? Is it well, we have a lot of people coming in and getting vegetables?
Yeah, there's not lots, but there's usually 1 or 2 people per. It's open 3 2-hour sessions a week. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 10 to 12. And sometimes there's a flag down on the street that indicates its presence, not always. We supply free vegetables to the rest home, which
probably saves them a little money, I don't know. But in the garden at the moment, there's not a lot, there's cabbages and kale is a slow taker. People don't eat much kale, and there's silver beet and that's about it. But we're planting vigorously at the moment.
You, Jill?
I was just going to ask Russell a question. I was wondering if we could involve Puna
Rangatahi,
Tahi in the,
that'd be up to them, but you can introduce them.
yeah, maybe just a pathway for a couple. I've been away for quite a bit of the time, so I've attended the meeting about districtisation, which was a good meeting, really well attended. And also the breakfast business and organisation meeting that we were at.
Sorry?
The breakfast meeting
Oh,
we
yeah.
were at yesterday. I'd just like to know, you know, I've got a question around that. Can I ask that now? So we're coming into it, rolling into a new 5-year plan. What did we get from the last 5-year one of the business and innovation?
And get the kid on the ballot.
Yeah.
Need to read the rule that measures circulated and their achievements. Off the top of my head, is this district wide, it's not worldwide.
I can provide one example, which would be the license to fruit loss project that Nick led, which was in conjunction with the growers. There was also the research sector about how do we make money out of what was in the past been a lost product, because it either rots on the ground or gets into land or whatever. So that was a project, and it's certainly a benefit to the Teviot Valley, the outcomes of that project.
He was point man for Onslow too.
Correct.
So it might have a lot of work into that.
Okay.
Mark?
Yes. The last meeting is, I think 6 weeks ago. Been away for 3 weeks of that, but I missed the museum AGM, unfortunately. But I've been to a couple of business breakfasts. I've been to several Northback community meetings. We've had a Teviot Prospects meeting, a couple of projects that they're working on at the moment for Teviot Prospects. We're reinstating the living wall just outside here with some new succulents and making sure that the irrigation works. We've got a project on the road, on the books for putting some town murals on various walls throughout along Scotland Street. We're looking at the seating, the public seating along Scotland Street, and improving that because it's steel at the moment and people don't like sitting on cold steel. And the height of it, and there's no arms on it, so we're looking at improving that. The Teviot Prospects is also working on a bike track at Grover's Hill, and also we've got a meeting with Gordon to discuss some serious improvements to the Miller's Flat Domain, which has got a bowling green and a tennis court and a children's playground there, and a building. So we're looking at improvements to that, and as part of the mural painting, we're looking at bringing a suggestion to the table that the toilet at Miller's Flat gets beautified and make it to look like a miner's hut, an old miner's hut. Obviously, we're keeping in mind ongoing maintenance of and infill for young people to fiddle with it. So that's Teviot Prospects. I note that the gold mine's pretty much underway, I believe, which is great news for the whole community. Well, there's a couple of people that are very nervous about it, but apart from that, that's great news for the community. Hopefully bring a few people to live in the town. I attended a long-term planning workshop yesterday, which was great. I really enjoyed being there. It was very enlightening to understand how the big picture comes together. So thank you for that. Attended a districtisation workshop. And, that's me.
Thank you.
Kickbacks from the gold mines to the community.
I think the formal thing, I think there's a small part of land that is council land, that there'll be some, royalties in the long term, but it's only a very small part of land that's council land. So, I mean, all of the land, if they don't own it, for all of the they pay royalties for the whole lot to central government. And then the owners of each land may have a deal with the mine themselves. We get 1% or I don't know what the number is, but it's a commercially sensitive number. So we don't, no, as a council, the council wouldn't get a hell of a lot. However, it's not to say we can't go to the mine people and say, hey, you've said you're going to be a community oriented organisation. Is there any chance you could help with this or that?
I hope they keep having such good stands at the AMP show. Yeah, they've got consent in their head.
Yeah, crayfish and it's really good. Yeah. So anyway, that's
Thank you.
that's me.
I'll just move that those reports be accepted. I'll second that, please.
I'll second that.
We'll vote. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Carry. Right, status reports.
See the status reports on there, and also I'll draw your attention to a little thing that started there, the next update.
Well, we don't understand.
Yeah. So we're going to have that as a rolling thing, just to give a bit of a update on things. And QC is also here to give some update on some roading and agreements.
He is.
Yeah, so I wasn't at the last meeting, but a couple of questions did crop up. One with regards to the Mill Split Bridge repair, and the other just with how the whole green bin organic points piece is going. So quick up. So the Mill Split Bridge project is all done, and that was just at one end of the bridge around the nosing. There was some packing plate replacement, so quite a simple project, but quite a big important bridge. So in doing that, there's a lot of design input and site visits by the way of the engineers to try and understand everything we possibly could before jacking the bridge. So one thing we found is the nosing construction thickness of concrete and gaps were different at both ends, so we altered the design before arriving at the site. So in other words, we just understood everything, had all the pre-welding, parts construction and packing construction done prior to getting there, just to try and make it go smoothly. We also coordinated with Delta to enable the servicing and maintenance of all the lights on the bridge at the same time while it was closed, just to save on any future maintenance, traffic management, and closing that bridge again for that piece. It was well timed in the school holidays. The team did really good early communication with stakeholders, emergency services, so everyone understood the plan, farmers over the plan, stock movements and everything, and other agricultural requirements. We also maintained 24 access walking and cycling, so people were escorted across the bridge rather than having to go right the way around or anything like that. We just sort of put those provisions in place to enable it to, worked well. We ran over by 1 day just due to some steel tying fitting taking longer than expected. But other than that, it went to plan. So yeah, it was
into budget.
Into budget. And
what was the budget for?
117 for that fix. 117,000. But that addresses one of the large maintenance renewal items that have come out of our bridge inspection that we've done a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's really good to get that done on quite a very important structure.
And all the lights on it look great.
Yes, yeah.
I think
Sorry, take it away. Yeah, everybody. Yeah. Well, on behalf of the Millspec community, I'd say well done, great job. Yeah, brilliant. I didn't hear any bad feedback, and so no, it was well signalled, well planned. well executed. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'll pass that back.
Great.
Into the whole team as well.
People could get across.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
but
good.
we had looked at staffing and things and different things like that, but the cost of scaffolding a bridge like that is astronomical, and just being able to maintain it with walking people across and everything like that's nice and simple. So
What does that do to the life going forwards of that bridge?
I don't have that in front of me, but that will be a long term. But there will be other maintenance activity that will need to happen on that bridge at some point. So we do principal inspections, so full inspections of every bridge structure every 6 years. So we will be back there in 4-ish years for another principal inspection, which might highlight something different. We also do annual inspections or 2-yearly inspections that are a bit more routine, not as invasive. So if there's anything starting to change on any of our structures, we pick it up quite quickly, all those real detailed inspections. And that's where you're potentially having a jet boat in the water, a drone, a bridge inspection vehicle that you're in underneath looking at everything, and it's done by a chartered bridge engineer. So, yeah, that is a long-term, many years.
Right.
Well done, thank you.
Is it in line with another?
If and when there's future maintenance on that bridge, we can just, yeah, if we're doing updates, we can come back to you on that. The other quick one, wanted to give a bit of an update on is sort of just obviously we're just over a year now into the new waste contract, the closure of the Miller's Flat green waste, and the introduction of that organics bin. So the year before our contract, 22-23, we sent 662 kgs of waste to landfill for rateable property. Last year, in the first year of the new contract, 509 kgs per rateable property. So a reduction of over 150 kg per property of material going to landfill.
Oh, to landfill.
To landfill. So we've taken, a lot out of our waste rubbish stream as a result. So previously we were seeing 40 plus 46%, I think it was, of green bin organic content in our red bin.
Right.
And those numbers are overall moving into that volume. But the introduction of the green bin for 3,300 tonnes diverted from landfill.
3,300.
Yes, tonnes. We were expecting 2,800 tonnes, and people took up the bin very well, which is awesome. It's really, really good to see. This will come through the annual report, but just some other really cool things coming out of the resident opinion survey. Curbside organic collection satisfaction with your bin, 92%. Our overall satisfaction of with waste services has gone from 73% to 81%. And curbside rubbish bin collection, 84% satisfaction, the yellow and blue, 91%. So we did get some noise around the change in the smaller red bin and introducing the green bin. And we did have a 3-month stand down as well for people if they wanted to upsize to that bigger bin. We have about 10,000 red bins in service. 130 people have made the decision to upsize, and that includes businesses and commercial entities. So that's also really cool to see that people have taken on board the stand down and tried it and hopefully gone, we can make this work.
So can you still use your big red bin?
You can upsize to a big red bin.
Well, I've got a big red bin and I've got a small red bin.
Yeah, but you'll be paying for both of those. So there's a larger cost to having a bigger red bin.
Right. Okay. So I only put the small bin out, but every so often, then you go.
Do you have a red bin?
No, I don't need one. I'm rural.
You might have slipped through the net to us.
Yeah.
Well, I have no green.
Well, it's the green bin cost.
Oh, I have to check in the rates, but it's significantly cheaper than the rubbish bin. I had to keep it in the check. Thank you. And just with regards to usage at the Roxburgh transfer station, it doesn't have a weighbridge, so we work in bootloads or meters cubed for green waste. 185 bootloads, and 346 cubic meters of green waste has been dropped off since the start of 1 July 23.
So if you don't want it, then you should, call the council or not.
So everyone is required, so within the urban areas, the boundaries set, there's waste boundaries, you're required to have the full service. You don't have to then use that bin, but you're required to have that service, and council provides that service. If you are in the rural properties between those service areas, you can choose to opt in or opt out of that service. You know, organics bin per annum is $106 in relation, and the smaller red bin is $190. A big red bin is $326 per year.
Can you opt out of any of those?
No, not in the urban environment. Yeah, you, or if you're in the rural environment, you either have collection or don't have collection. If you're on the rural routes collection, or take it to the rural route.
So it's small red bin, how big is it?
140 litres as opposed to 240 litres.
Yeah. It's fair.
How much did you get? 300.
Sorry, you coming back?
320.
It's on the count. It's just $326 for the big red bin, 190 for the small red bin. Organics is 106. Recycling's 95, glass is 40.
So if you want to change it, then you just give a ring.
If you need additional bins, yeah, or if you, if you need additional bins or would like to change the size of your red bin to a larger bin, you can just put council in, or there's online forms as well.
So bring it back down to a ward basis, what would you say is, I guess from when you look at your data, what's the thing that might concern you the most about the behaviour in the valley?
Hard to do just on a ward base, just because of the truck collection routes in terms of what it's picking up. One thing, in terms of where the exact volumes are coming from, I think my one big message though is, please have a look at your booklet, have a look at the guidance we provide on the website around what can go in your bin, particularly your recycling bin. We are still seeing quite a lot of soft plastics going into that bin. Unfortunately, recycling is not just plastic, it's very prescriptive around what can go in your bins and your plastic numbers and everything like that. Yeah, exactly.
So that's something that we could do better as a whole district.
I think, everywhere in our district, we still see quite a lot of, soft plastic as contamination. It does cause issues at processing and different things like that. So that would be the sort of biggest takeaway. There's still a little bit of confusion around soft plastic versus plastic. And there is some collection points within our district, for that soft plastic recycling scheme, but it can't be a yellow bin, unfortunately. And that does come as contamination. That's what we'll probably see the most of. But the green bin, food and green waste has got very low contamination, which is really positive. And glass bins has been pretty good. Just remind people it's not a party bin, so don't drink a couple of cans and put it in with your glass. Keep it to your glass. Don't just wheel that one around. Bring your recycling to.
What's the progress on the location of the recycling?
So our recycling is heading to Timaru. We are working alongside QLTC around them establishing a new materials recovery facility, which would be a closer facility than there. Although once the material is sorted, it still has to go to a port. So I'm not sure if that difference is going to be significant, but there is, we're working with them around recycling. With regards to organics, we're in the process with an application with Ministry of the Environment for infrastructure funding for the establishment of our own facilities. So again, that processing of that is not in Timaru, it'll be local to us, and that will have some savings for us. So obviously sending
our organic material to landfill is the most expensive option. Sending it to Timaru is significantly less expensive than that, but dealing with it in our own district is even shittier than that. So we've had a great step change in introducing the organics and saving some material from going to landfill, but the next step for us is getting the organics processing plant built in our district.
So the recycling to Timaru must be a big expense.
It is a big, and it does cost the transport, but,
How many trucks a day would you send out?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, sorry. There's about, 1,000 or 2,000 tonnes a year of recycling includes it. I can't remember this one of the two numbers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
So if you go to your agenda, you'll see that we've got, how we requested some update on work projects. And we just heard, obviously, from UP. There's a couple of other activities that have been undertaken that are in this, I guess, the schedule that we'll see every meeting. Want you to look at the schedule and just see if it's got the information that you might think is useful in it. On-board trials of bullet trackers showing positive results.
Are they tapping into an underwater stream there or something? What's right.
Do some
Too much.
sediment.
Right. So that's down by the river. I don't know anything about Roxburgh.
Down at the Portfield, just out of town there by the ridge.
The other end of the classroom.
You see where the pump shed is, and then as you go down there,
Yeah.
you'll see the bores in the ground. So it really is, I think it's taken it from the river essentially, because it doesn't probably meet the class. It's not deep enough to be saying it's not taken from the waters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the system that I have, as the one put this together, is that kind of stuff that you're hoping for.
I think that if you look at it from a perspective of ratepayer interest, there's always a dollar figure that's being asked for. The activity, why we're doing it, and how much we're spending. Because people are wanting to know what portion of our rates has been spent in the valley, and this is the questions around, we're asking around the LTP.
Okay, cool. That gives me a good thing to go backwards and say.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be anything more than a bullet point.
Yeah.
It's just, people want to know where money is being spent.
Yeah.
And if we can get hand on heart, so this is, we need a new water source and we spent $1.5 million doing it.
And if there was any significant roading issue or grounds issues,
Yeah.
you know, like, not too exactly, it was July that the Miller's Flat Bridge was done, but, that having that on this report in the appropriate month, I think it was done in July, so it doesn't, you know, but yeah, Miller's Flat Bridge done, or Miller's Flat Bridge intending to be done, things of a significant nature, or the culvert or crossing Scotland Street is being done, or we're doing some significant resealing in 2 months' time here. Not,
I mean, this is good.
yeah, that's great.
No one would know that we do sludge lift. The most of the ponds. Or they needed to be sludge.
Actually, they probably do need to know not to bloody well flush wetways.
That was great.
Oh,
That was a public service announcement. And helpfully, Philippa from the water team was able to give them a map of the exact pump station. So that's quite useful.
So any significant stuff like that, if there's any building stuff where they said we've repainted such and such a building, or we're planning to, or we've recarpeted this, or we've,
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's
Better
good.
shape it.
yeah,
I think you mentioned, or someone mentioned the cost of actually getting these guys in to clear that pump.
Yeah, I think it was in there somewhere. It was, oh yeah, it was something, good, because it's an extra cleaner, right?
Yeah, and people don't do it, you know, spend that money.
Can we get somebody to local to learn to do it in case, well, then it's gonna happen again, but I'll put out on behalf of the board, I'll put out.
No, I think it works very
I
well.
think you want to get involved.
I don't think it works that way. The contractor would be taking.
It's not about not doing it, to avoid the cost rather than getting someone else to clean it.
Has the, sure I'm asking this all, but so I'll ask the chairman.
What's that?
The non-mowing of the berms, has that commenced yet? And if so, have we had any feedback?
Probably not, because there's been winter, the growth will start now.
Yeah.
So the feedback could start coming in 3 weeks' time. Yeah. When the new growth comes through.
So we put out notification on comms then to residents of the valley, that's a reminder.
Yeah.
That won't be happening. To be my knowledge, we haven't had any direct feedback.
No, that was supposed to be out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could do another reminder, I guess, in another couple of weeks, but it's bigger steps in a couple of weeks, people will be able to see what being made.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we want to rattle the cage and tell the people, or just like the individual, or you just leave it, just wait for?
Well, yeah.
Right, what do we, what's the best?
It's been communicated quite a bit.
Yeah, just leave it, just wait.
Yeah.
A while back we were talking about rubbish bins and how, and someone told me that it was costing us $1,600 a month, $1,600 a year to empty each rubbish bin.
It would be, yeah. Especially we've done probably a couple of times a day.
Which is, you know, that's a significant amount of rubbish that we take from the travelling public.
And the Teviot, is the highest per capita of this. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need them. But when I saw two guys pull up in their motorhome at the King George Park and tipping the rubbish into the thing by the gate to the playground. And I stopped them and they got a little bit antsy about it. So have we got an awareness program?
Well, that's just common sense. On their way through to Alex, they should go through the transfer station or go through the transfer station. That's just ignorance.
Oh,
If they've got a motorhome, they've got enough sense.
I didn't tell them that.
I was just trying.
So is there a way that we can just better manage that? To save someone like myself having to stop these guys doing it on the day.
We are looking at options on them then, your scan here for your nearest transfer station. If you are driving up.
Because it's that time of the year.
And if they've gone to the New Zealand Association campus, that's the good education they put out. That's all we heard.
Yeah.
So it's just ignorance.
But it's us that's paying for it as well.
That's right.
I'm not suggesting we should do this for one moment, but when I was in Spain, I saw this amazing system, which was actually in the main street, and it had 3 bins, you know, your yellow and your green and your red bin. And the bin sat on a steel plate that was about a 2.5 metre diameter. And I sort of looked at it and opened the bin. The bin had no bottom to it. And so the bin just went straight down into a pit. And so, you know, the plate, you could see that some sort of machine could screw that plate in and lift the plate, and everything that's in the pit would then be able to be scooped out by the rubbish bin.
Yeah.
So instead of clearing it every day, they had to do it once a week or once every fortnight. But obviously, you'd have to have, there's no electrical and plumbing under there, and it would beg the question of the bigger the hole, the more goes in it.
And some of It's something trying
Yeah.
to respond with a theme and, you know, you can do so. It's bad.
Amazing system.
But I think they're quite expensive.
Yeah, yeah, you might find some, in rural environment like this, you might find the odd sheep in there or something like that.
One of the key things that we've mentioned a couple of times, I'll just take the opportunity here, is trying to educate like local vendors and stuff as well. You know, do you want to stay here for 5 minutes and have your coffee rather than getting the takeaway cup, you know, things like that. I know the team, especially our contracts team, try to educate people when it comes to things of boxes and receipts and things like that. Yeah, that's the sort of letter that we do see fly around as the light stuff. And so the team, where possible, to try to drop into places and say, hey, you asking customers if they need a receipt. And that's often just to remind people of those stuff.
We need a couple of council members down for the bogans to come through at Queen's First and Blossom Festival, because they empty out their car rubbish. And I think through those really busy weekends, personally, I think we should have bigger rubbish bins for those weekends, bigger for whole, and then go back to the smaller ones that aren't used as much, because the reality is that the removal of rubbish is a service people do clean out their cars. You know, and they'll put it in a rubbish bin, but our rubbish bins overflow all the time on our big weekends. And I pick the shit up. And if we don't get our gutterings cleaned half enough, so it blows around, rocks around, and it makes the town look pretty tatty. You know, and
Okay, so you all read through the status report?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's noted that there's a much fewer number of the issues there. But we've figured a whole lot out. Yeah. And that's very there.
Anything that you want to discuss particularly? I'll just move that the status report be received then, please. I can have a second.
I'll second that.
That Roxburgh Cemetery things happen a lot.
Yeah.
And if you look at the,
Just get closer.
really close. Do I have a seconder for that motion, please?
Second that.
Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carried. Thanks for the next meeting, the 31 October 2024.
that's the year gone, isn't it?
Now, I do have an answer to the public speaker's question at the beginning about that. He used the rates information sheet. You want me to provide it? No, form.
24.
No, 31st.
So what your all pay rates, so you would receive the literature which explains the rates charged. So, and I'll just, so council funds 11 activities. We group things under 11 activities. And one of the activities we group activities under is pools, parks and cemeteries. So if you go on to, and the other one, another one would be example, would water supply, wastewater. So all our businesses grouped under 11 activities. But when it comes to ward rates, because it's a little bit confusing, ward rates, and it is, and I've had a bit of research through this many. So you pay a ward services rate, that covers housing and property, grants, recreation reserve committees and other works. You pay a ward services charge, which covers the cost of cemeteries, community board, elected member costs and other works. You pay a contribution to Monument Park. And then the other ward-based rate is recreation and culture charge, and that covers parks and reserves, swimming pools. You don't collect for swimming pools here because you don't have a swimming pool. Museums, sports club loan assistance if you do that, community halls and other recreation facilities and amenities. So that's the ward-based charges that flow through. But when we explain that in here, what we say is, and I just use the ward services one. Ward services rates contribute to the cost of property and community halls. And this is where, so we have to fix the language, pools, parks and cemeteries. It's not quite right. What the ward services rate does, it contributes to housing, property, grants, recreation reserves committees, but it sits under the pool, parks and cemeteries activity line. So when you go to our budget, you go, okay, what's 11 activities that council group things under? And so he kept referring to pool parks and cemeteries, pool parks and cemeteries, pool parks and cemetery 3 times. That's the activity we align it under. It's not saying that we're charging 3 times for pool parks and cemeteries. That's the overarching activity that these activities sit under.
So clarity of the information.
Clarity of the information. So it's typically right. Everything when we say we cost to water sits under the water activity.
Yeah.
What we're saying here is these charges sit under the pools, parks and cemetery activity
So
in our annual and long-term plans.
in case in point of interpretation.
That's right, but we can improve the language on it, make sure it's clear.
I think it's probably useful. Thank you. Declare the meeting closed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got.
Say, so we've still got